Thank you, everyone. Be seated. All right, we are back on the record in State versus Brooks. Appearances are as they were before. I know this morning I mentioned I would mention to the jury about Exhibit 15. As I recall going back in my memory about how that exhibit was received, I believe I already told the jury it is received or was received subject to further testimony, so I don't know that I need to tell them again that it's received. It would be my inclination to just simply let it be. We've noted it outside the presence of the jury, but that's how I intend to handle that.
Agreed. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, I believe all of our jurors, well, they're all back, of course, but they're ready to go, and so when we bring them out, the state should be prepared to call the next witness.
We are.
Okay, very good. Then bring the jury out, please.
You ain't called that name that you started with. I don't know if the audio's on.
Audio's on, and I called the case. I actually didn't specifically refer to you, but I did say State versus Brooks. But in any event, your objection is noted for the record, and we'll continue with testimony.
Will you be addressing subject matter jurisdiction? Is that a judicial determination not to answer, Your Honor? So is that a tacit agreement?
All rise.
Subject matter jurisdiction has yet to be proven for the record.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. State, have the next witness, please.
Thank you. The state calls Officer Rebecca Carpenter.
Good afternoon, officer. If you would please make your way to the witness stand on my right, up one riser. When you get there, please remain standing, raise your right hand. My clerk, Teresa, will swear you in.
The White House has
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Thank you. Please be seated. The first thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
Rebecca, R-E-B-E-C-C-A, Carpenter, C-A-R-P-E-N-T-E-R.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Officer, how are you employed?
On the day of the parade, I was working a shift for the Village of Big Bend Police Department, sir.
Is that who still employs you?
Yes.
Anybody else?
Yes, I'm also a patrol officer for the town of East Troy, and I'm the assistant chief for the Village of Eagle.
How many years have you spent in law enforcement?
I was appointed to the Milwaukee Police Department in March of 1991.
And when did you come out here to the Waukesha County jurisdictions that you mentioned?
I retired from the Milwaukee Police Department as a sergeant in November of 2017, and the first department I got into policing again with was the town of East Troy in May of 2018.
You already made reference to the parade. Were you working on duty as a law enforcement officer on November 21st of 2021?
Yes, sir, I was.
Leading.
Overruled, and you may answer.
Yes, I was.
Were you aware that day that the Waukesha Christmas Parade was taking place?
Actually, I was not.
Did you at some point become aware that there was a parade in downtown Waukesha?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. You may
Yes.
answer.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, I did.
How did you go about learning that information?
I heard over the radio channel that Big Ben monitors, which is not the same radio channel that the parade was on. I heard a broadcast that there had been shots fired.
What did you do in response to hearing that broadcast?
In response to that particular broadcast, I started paying closer attention.
And then what happened?
Squads on my channel, which is a Waukesha County channel, started to say that they were placing injured people in the backs of their squads and driving them to the hospital, which is a highly unusual circumstance.
What did you do when you learned that information?
I started driving toward downtown Waukesha.
Did you get there?
I did.
What happened then?
Initially, I went to the parade route, and I talked to a few people around injured people and determined that I wasn't really able to be of help there because they were all back injuries, and I can't, in a squad, I can't help with that.
So what did you do next?
I answered a call on the radio that said there was a man going door to door on Elizabeth Street asking to use people's phones to call an Uber.
Did you go to look for that man?
I did.
Where did you go?
I responded to Elizabeth Street, and I parked my squad on Elizabeth and West.
Where did you go from there?
I got out and partnered up with two other officers, and we decided that we would walk the street and look for this person.
Were you wearing a body-worn camera at the time?
Yes, sir, I was.
Where was that device affixed to your person?
The control box was on my chest, and the particular model of body-worn camera that I was wearing had a lens that I was wearing affixed to my collar.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that the witness has held up her right hand in a circle and pointed it towards about her collarbone, her right collarbone.
The record also reflect.
Was that device also equipped with a microphone?
Objection,
Yes.
leading.
Overruled.
Yes, sir.
And that microphone was synced up with the video?
Yes, sir.
Do you know whether your device was activated as you were walking down Elizabeth Street that afternoon?
Objection.
It was.
Overruled, and her answer may stand.
May we please display for the witness only exhibit number 80?
Go ahead. It will come on the monitor in front of you.
Do you see a video on the screen in front of you?
Yes, I do.
We're going to play the first 5 or 10 seconds of that just to see if you recognize it, okay? All right, we've played 6 seconds. Do you recognize that video?
I do.
What is it?
It is my body camera video of walking down Elizabeth Street.
From November 21st?
Objection, leading.
I will overrule it, and the answer may stand.
Is this video and the associated audio accurately reflect what happened that night as you saw it?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
Yes, sir.
I'd move Exhibit 80 into evidence and ask to publish.
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. Exhibit 80 is received, permission to publish is granted. For the record, please tell me the total length.
It is a 5-minute video.
Thank you. Go ahead.
We will start at the beginning. We're going to play it with audio, and we will pause at certain points, and I'll point out the timestamps when we pause. So we'll start from the beginning, please.
Big Ben.
Any unit that is on Elizabeth Street currently advised.
Robert 277.
Robert 277.
What's up? Hands up! Put your hands where I can see them! Put your hands up! Hands up! Hands up! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Do it now!
Hey, take to one of the hospitals for a plan care.
What did I do? Lay on your stomach. What did I do?
Robert 277, are you on Elizabeth Street?
We've paused at 53 seconds. A few moments earlier in the video, we saw what appeared to be a handgun. Does that sound right to you?
Yes, sir.
Who was the person holding that handgun?
That was me.
And who were, well, excuse me, let me strike that. I want to direct your attention to the top right corner of the screen here. There appears to be some type of timestamp. Do you see that?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
I do, yes.
Do you know if that is an accurate military timestamp?
Objection leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
That does not accurately reflect the time it occurred, no.
So it was not 11:11 p.m. at the time this video was recording.
Objection leading.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
Do you know approximately what time it was that this video was recorded?
I know that I initially began to respond to the scene at about 20 minutes to 5. And I would be guessing about how much time elapsed, but I would say it wasn't more than a half hour or 40 minutes to this point.
Okay. The person who is depicted in the video at this point, at 53 seconds, that's what, describe where in the video you first saw that person.
Objection leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
I first saw him standing on the porch.
And what, if anything, did you see that person doing when you first saw him?
Objection leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
He appeared to be rather agitated.
Why do you say that?
Objection leading.
Overruled. It's not leading. You may answer.
He was moving back and forth on the porch and gesturing.
Do you recall what you were wearing that evening?
I do.
What?
The exact same set of clothing that I'm wearing today.
Including long sleeves?
Yes.
Objection leading.
Overruled.
Did this person, depicted at 53 seconds, draw your attention in any way based on what he was wearing?
Yes.
Why?
It was chilly out, lower 40s, upper 30s, and he was in a t-shirt, jogging pants, and no shoes.
We can resume playing here at 53 seconds, please.
You got something with your name on it, man?
No. Okay, lads. Cooperate with us. Okay.
Dispatch that unit on.
We paused at 1 minute and 4 seconds. What did we see in that portion of the video?
That was a sandwich.
Where did that sandwich come from?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
His right pants pocket.
The subject on the ground, his?
Yes, sir.
Please resume at 1:04.
Elizabeth Street, just
Robert 277.
We paused at 1 minute and 14 seconds. Did you at some point ask the subject depicted in the video at 1:14 to identify himself by name?
Go ahead.
I did.
What was that person's response?
He identified himself as Darrell Brooks.
Do you see Mr. Brooks in the courtroom today?
I do.
Can you point him out for us by telling us where he's sitting and what he's wearing?
He is seated at the defense table wearing a dark-colored suit and striped tie and a mask over his face.
Just to be thorough, Your Honor, could we please have Mr. Brooks remove his mask momentarily?
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Go ahead.
Now that Mr. Brooks has removed his mask, does that change anything about your testimony today?
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name.
You're- You may go ahead and answer.
That's Darrell Brooks.
Could we please play from 1:14?
There was multiple units. Name is 216, you have to attend.
What is your name?
Brooks.
I'm waiting for a minute.
Paused at 1 minute and 23 seconds. Sitting on the witness stand today, do you acknowledge that Mr. Brooks has a short haircut?
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name. He's leading.
Sustained as to the form of the question, please.
How would you describe Mr. Brooks's haircut today?
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name.
Sir, I understand your objection. Please do not interrupt with that further so that the questioning of the witnesses may continue. You may answer.
If you say that name, I'm objecting.
And the jury will disregard the objection if it's solely for the name purposes. Go ahead.
Mr. Brooks has his hair cut close today.
What about when he took his face mask down? Did you notice his facial hair?
Objection, leading.
Overruled.
He does have facial hair.
Did you notice anything different about his facial hair today versus in the video?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
And that is also trimmed closer.
Does the hairstyle and the facial hairstyle here in court today give you any pause or concern over whether or not it's Mr. Brooks in the video?
Objection.
Go ahead and answer, please.
No, not at all.
Let's resume playing at 1:23.
Objection noted for the record.
I just used somebody's phone to call for a minute, that's all.
Oh, okay. That's what I need, yeah. We'll mail 1026, the black mail for red short sleeve shirt.
I'll tell you what,
Okay.
if everything turns out to be on the up and up, life will be good, and you'll be on your way, all right?
Yes. I got it, guys, I got it. Suspect, I presume?
Unknown. Ask him. Ask him if he knows. He was on the porch here.
Yeah, I was using his phone.
What's your location?
I was using his phone.
You're holding your body to make sure I'm holding her down.
I called my
Any squads available for transport?
on the 500. Give me a lift. That's all. I was just using his phone.
Sarah, this is Schwartz. I'm leaving WSC. Where do you need me?
Can I just sit up? I was Can I please just sit up? You have any weapons on you? No, sir. What's your name, guy?
9209.
I just told her my name. What is your name? Yes, sir. What's your first name? Darrell Brooks? Yes, sir.
Additional victims to return in the next block.
Copy, no additional
This
victims.
matches the description of the guy that got called on who was going door to door over here.
Yeah, I was trying.
Where are your shoes, ma'am?
I was trying to use somebody's phone.
Where are your shoes?
My flip-flops is in his house.
Paused at 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Did you hear the last thing said by the suspect on the ground at this point?
Objection,
Yes.
leading.
Overruled.
What did he say?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
He said, my flip-flops is in his house.
Do you know if any flip-flops or any other shoes of any kind were ever retrieved from the residence that this was taking place in front of?
Objection, speculative.
Overruled. You may answer.
I did go in the house and speak to the resident there and asked if he had left shoes or outer garments or anything like that, and he said that he had not.
Can we please resume at the 2:49 mark?
He was saying he just gave me a jacket. He's identifying soft flat, lighter skin, black male, dreadlocks, red shirt, blue jeans, no shoes. Yeah, I did go to the house. I went to that house right there, right down the street, right here. Where you coming from, man? I was coming from that parade down there. Okay. I know a friend down there. I think that's a fabulous idea. I can't, Mr. Book. Okay, I'll tell you what. Roll over on your butt. Okay, not you. Roll over on your butt. Roll up on your knees. Roll over on. Roll up on your knees. Okay. 500 back. Stand up. No, 553. 553 Elizabeth. What are you doing? Our freaking fleet. Did I do something? That is not to be determined, sir. My squad, man. Okay. Is there anything I need to stick me up your head? No, not at all, sir. Okay. Not at all. I don't have any weapons. Glad to hear it. Nothing like that. How did you get up over here, man? I was coming to see a friend. Yeah? Where's your friend? I don't know now. Spin your back and hands for me. You injured at all, dude? Yeah. What hurts? When they slammed me, my knee, I already have an injury. Spread your feet for me. Okay, yes. That's my ID. It certainly is. Yes. I'm so cold. I bet you are.
Paused at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Officer, can you tell us what you and any other officers were doing in that brief portion of the video?
Walking him to a squad car so he could be placed inside since he was not dressed for the weather.
What happened once you got to the squad car?
The officer whose squad he was going to be placed in went through his pockets to make sure he did not have anything that would be dangerous.
Okay. And do you know if anything was retrieved from his pockets?
Yes.
Objection.
Overruled. Her answer may stand.
There were no weapons, were there?
No weapons.
Overruled. Her answer may stand.
What, if anything, do you recall being recovered from his pocket?
ID, some cards, I believe there was a credit card in there, and a car key.
Can we please play from the 4:30 mark? We're having some skipping issues, so let's pause it there and go back to 4:50, please.
I'm sorry, what time span?
4:50.
Go ahead.
Okay, we're at 4:48. We'll play from here. We don't need to see those last few seconds. We can get them to work, I'm sure, if Mr. Brooks would like to see them. Could we please show for the witness only, exhibit number 176? Do you recognize the photograph on the screen in front of you?
I do.
What does it depict?
It is still taken from my Bodycam footage. Those are my hands, and in my hands are the property that was taken from Mr. Brooks. You can see the officer's back at the open door of the squad, and Mr. Brooks' leg in the light there, where he's sitting in the squad.
Your Honor, I would move exhibit 176 into evidence and request permission to publish.
Objection, relevancy.
Exhibit 176 is received. Permission to publish is granted. The objection is overruled.
And while we're waiting for the screens to activate for the jurors, I'll ask you, Officer Carpenter, do you know what happened to the objects that are in your hands in that exhibit?
Yes, I I gave them to the officer whose car Mr. Brooks was sitting in.
You don't know the identity of that officer?
I don't. There were a lot of officers from a lot of different jurisdictions.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's all I have.
That's all I have. All right, thank you. Cross, please.
Yes. At one point you stated the suspect was wearing jogging pants. That be fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Were the jogging pants or blue jeans?
They were soft pants. They were not blue jeans.
Can we show Exhibit 80 again?
Yes, we can.
Well, yes, we can. Go ahead. Thank you.
Can you fast forward it a little bit? I'm not gonna be sure exactly where to pause it at. Can you fast forward just a little bit? Can you pause? Can you zoom in a little bit? And play a few more seconds. Would that miss the zoom up? Would it still be zoomed in or would it go back out?
It'll stay zoomed on that portion of the screen.
Okay. Pause.
We're at 55 seconds.
55, yeah. You would describe those pants as jogging pants or soft pants, as you say?
Yes.
And you stated that when you parked your car, and when you parked your squad on Elizabeth and West, you hooked up with two other officers?
Yes.
And those officers had long guns?
Yes.
Can you explain what a long gun is?
Shoulder weapon, rifle, or shotgun.
Do you recall if it was a rifle or a shotgun?
I did not examine either weapon closely.
Are you done with this exhibit, sir?
Yeah, for right now, yeah. And you made reference to finding sandwich, credit cards, and things of that nature in the pants, correct?
I found the sandwich while you were laying on the ground.
And you also stated that you found a credit card and things of that nature. In fact, would it be fair to say that that's what was in your hand on Exhibit 176?
Do you need the exhibit to answer? Do you recall?
There were, I don't, thank you. There were what appeared to be credit cards and ID and a car key.
And they were in your hand, correct?
They were.
So would it be fair to say you also found those and not just a sandwich?
I did not pull that stuff out of your pocket, sir. That was a different officer. I did hold it while he finished searching you, sir.
So I'm sorry, that threw me off. So you obtained that the credit cards and all that from a different officer?
Yes.
Did you find anything else?
On your person, I was not the person searching you. Aside from the sandwich while you were on the ground.
So as far as your search, you just found a sandwich?
Correct.
And at the time, do you recall why the suspect was being detained?
Yes,
And what was the reason?
because you matched a description that was broadcast over the police radio of a suspect involved in the parade incident.
In this report, did you write it yourself or did another officer?
I wrote it.
Do you recall writing that the suspect was being detained for investigative purposes?
Yes,
Any reason why you wouldn't state what those purposes were in the report?
yes, because at the time we had contact with you, I was not fully aware of the circumstances.
Well, would it be fair to say that you just stated why the suspect was being detained?
Did I just stated why this, I'm sorry, what was the question exactly, sir?
Would it be fair to say that you just stated when asked why was the suspect being detained at that moment? You
At that
answered,
moment?
Yeah,
Yes.
at that moment that you detained the suspect. You stated because they matched the description of someone involved in the parade.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
But then you stated that you just stated that at the time you weren't fully aware.
I knew that people had been hurt. I knew that shots had been fired. I did not know how many people were hurt. I did not know by what mechanism people would be hurt. I did not know the magnitude of the injuries. I just knew that something violent had happened.
So it'd be fair to say you weren't in the known of a lot of information at that point.
That's true.
Grounds.
Overruled. Her answer may stand.
Would it be fair to say that you were being heard in Exhibit 80 stating that if everything was on the up and up, you would be on your way?
Yes, sir, that's correct. That was me.
So would it be fair to say that was an inaccurate statement if the suspect fit the description of something that happened in the parade?
Not at all.
And what do you mean by not at all?
I mean, sometimes people look like someone who did something and turn out not to be that person. But that was not the case here.
So as far as you knew at the time, it could have been mistaken identity.
It could have been, but it was not.
Well, at the time, it'd be fair to say at the time you didn't know.
At the time, I did not know.
Did you give the suspect any of that information?
Objection.
Grounds.
I'm not sure what information he's talking about.
Sustained is to the form of the question. It's vague.
Did you give the suspect any information on why they were being detained?
I said, actually, it wasn't me that said that. It was another officer that said that, and I can't tell you who it was because I don't know. While you were being put in the car, you were informed you were being detained for investigative purposes, which is an answer that's appropriate for the circumstances.
So it would be fair to say that that's not really all that informative?
I did not have a lot of information to give you, sir.
Keep saying you. Who are you referring to?
You, Mr. Brooks. Dara Brooks, seated at the defense table.
Any reason why you wouldn't tell a suspect why they're being detained? Essentially being that if you take someone into custody, they should know why they're being taken into custody. Wouldn't you agree?
I can't give you information that I don't have, and I wouldn't want to tell you the wrong thing. That wouldn't be fair.
So why would a suspect be detained without any information to your knowledge?
Objection.
Grounds.
Asked and answered.
Also calls for speculation, vague. Sustained is to the form of the question.
So would it be fair to say that you can detain a suspect without them knowing why they're being detained?
Objection. This
Grounds.
was for a legal analysis, not factually relevant.
No.
Sustained is to the form of the question.
Would it be fair to say you initially responded to the 500 block of Elizabeth because of a report of, I guess you would call it a trespassing report?
I would more put it under the heading of suspicious behavior, under the circumstances.
So is that why you were initially dispatched to that area for suspicious behavior?
Yes.
And do you recall when you got the report of shots fired?
I believe that was one of the first things I heard over the radio before I was even there.
Do you recall ever finding out where the shots fired came from?
Eventually I did.
Do you recall in your written report writing that when you had arrived at Elizabeth and West and parked your squad and began to walk down the street, that you had your firearm in your hand?
Yes?
And was that because of the call of shots fired, or did you feel unsafe at the time?
That's because there were shots fired and I did not know by whom.
Did you get a report of anyone hit by the shots?
At that time, no. I did not know one way or the other if anyone had been hurt.
Did you?
Had been hit. I knew people were hurt.
Do you recall the area of where the shots fired? Was that the general area?
The general area, somewhere in the vicinity of the parade.
Is Elizabeth and West in the general area?
It's a few blocks away.
And you did state you didn't find any weapons on the suspect, right?
Correct.
Did you find any shell casings or?
No.
Do you have any reason to believe that the shots came from the suspect?
I did not know who had done shooting. I had heard a report of shots fired. I did not know by whom, as I've said, sir.
Any reason to believe that the shots came from the suspect is what I'm asking.
I did not know.
And you stated that upon seeing the suspect on the porch, that they were gesturing?
Gesturing? Yes, sir.
And you also stated that in your written report that it was in the upper 30s that evening with the brisk wind. Would that be fair to say?
It was
Pretty
upper
cold.
30s, lower 40s, somewhere right in there. It was cold. I was cold.
Do you think that maybe the gesturing was because the suspect was cold?
Objection.
Grounds.
Calls for speculation.
Overruled, she may answer if she's able.
I didn't know.
And do you recall checking the general area around the house that you found the suspect?
Yes, sir.
Did you find anything around the house? I guess I'm referring to where you wrote in your report, you checked the likely path of travel.
Yes, sir, I do recall that. No, we did not find anything.
And do you recall checking the pockets of the coat worn by the suspect?
Yes.
Do you recall how the suspect obtained the coat?
I recall what I was told.
So it'd be fair to say you weren't sure if you were only told this information. That'd be fair to say?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
You made reference to saying you only know what you were told. So it'd be fair to say at that time you didn't know unless you were told.
Didn't know what?
How the suspect obtained the coat.
I asked the resident of the house you were at. Actually, I believe he volunteered to me that he had given you a coat to wear.
And you checked the pockets of the coat?
Yes.
And did you find anything?
I did not find anything.
At what point did you learn that the suspect who was being detained would be arrested?
At some point later.
And it was another officer's vehicle that the suspect was placed in, correct?
Correct.
And when did you leave that scene?
Not for hours.
Why so long?
because when there is a crime scene that potentially spans blocks, everything needs to be searched for evidence. Witnesses need to be located, because once things are gone, things are gone. So it has to all be done right the first time.
Did you write your report that evening?
I believe I wrote it the next morning.
So it would be fair to say after you had learned a little bit more information, then you wrote the report?
That would be true, yes.
In the video, Exhibit 80, the suspect gave you his name, right?
That's correct.
Was that right when you handcuffed him, if you recall?
Right around that time, yes, sir.
And did you talk to any other witnesses that evening besides the owner of the home that you saw the suspect?
No.
In the hours that you stayed on Elizabeth, did you talk to any other witnesses at all?
No, I looked through a few yards and mostly maintained a perimeter for a search.
Do you recall why you looked through a few yards?
Searching for evidence.
Do you recall what evidence you may have been searching for at that time?
You know, a lot of times you don't know until you find it.
So do you recall what, maybe you might have been looking for a weapon or anything like that?
That would have gotten my attention, yes, absolutely.
Did you find any weapon?
No, sir.
Did you learn any knowledge of any ring video footage that evening?
I don't recall if I viewed the footage that evening or the following day. I did at some point view that ring footage, yes.
So you were aware that night that it was ring footage?
I believe I was aware of it that night. I don't believe I watched it, but I can't say with certainty.
And do you recall initially responding to Clinton Street and Broadway first?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall why you responded to that location first?
To see if I could help anyone.
About how long did you stay there before responding to Elizabeth?
Just a few minutes.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
Referring specifically to the time that you placed the handcuffs on Mr. Brooks, remember that time frame?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer.
Thank you. Yes, I do.
Do you recall how Mr. Brooks ended up on the ground as that was happening?
I do.
Could you tell us about that?
Objection. Saw in video.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
We instructed him to put his hands up and then to get down on the ground.
Did he comply with those instructions?
He did.
Did you or any other officer have to put hands on Mr. Brooks to get him on the ground?
Objection. Speculative.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
No, sir, we did not.
After he was on the ground, that's when the handcuffs went on?
Objection.
correct.
Leading.
Overruled. She may answer.
Your answer again was,
That's correct.
at any point after the handcuffs went on, did you or any other officer throw Mr. Brooks to the ground?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
We did not.
How did you treat Mr. Brooks as you moved him from his prone position on the ground to the squad car?
Objection.
Overruled. She may
Release.
answer.
As the video shows, he was instructed, let's call it the path of least resistance, to get up off of prone position, eventually to his feet, with a minimum of discomfort.
Did you successfully achieve that objective?
Objection. Speculative.
I'll rephrase.
Are you able to answer?
Yes,
Go ahead.
in as best as one can stand a person up when they have their hands handcuffed behind their back, yes.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may step down. Statement called. Next witness.
Thank you. The state calls Officer Garrett Luling.
Good afternoon, officer. If you would please make your way to the witness stand, which is up a riser to my right. When you get there, please remain standing. Raise your right hand, and my clerk, Teresa, who's on my left, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please be seated. If you would please state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
Sure. First name is Garrett, last name is Luling. First name is spelled Garrett. My last name is spelled Luling.
Thank you. Go ahead, Attorney Upper, you witness.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Officer Luling.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I want to direct your attention to the date of November 21 of 2021. And you are aware of the Waukesha Christmas parade taking place that afternoon, is that correct, sir?
Objection, leave.
Correct, I was working.
Hold on. Understand it's leading, there is some leeway when it's just laying foundation, so it's overruled, and the witness may answer, and the answer he provided may stand. Go ahead.
Correct, I was assigned to work the Christmas parade.
All right. At some point in time, were you aware of injuries to those involved in the parade, sir?
Objection, leave.
Yes.
Overruled. Make sure you wait till I rule on the objection, please.
Sorry.
And at some point later that evening, were you aware of a suspect being taken into custody in the 500 block of Elizabeth Street?
Objection, leave.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes.
All right, I want to direct your attention to that time frame, please. Did you respond to that area, sir?
Yes.
Where did you go?
I was initially parked setting up a perimeter near the area of Southwest Avenue in Wood. When I heard a specialist client come over the area indicating that there was a subject going door to door in the 500 block of Elizabeth Street, I then traveled north and to Elizabeth Street, which is right off of Southwest Avenue, correction, Northwest Avenue at that point, and I traveled westbound on Elizabeth Street looking for the subject.
What did you see when you arrived in that area?
Initially, as I came to the area, I observed an officer from the village of McGuanago, an officer from the Big Bend Police Department, as well as an officer from the City of Delafield Police Department in the area. I traveled westbound, spotlighting residents in the general area looking for the subject. Initially, I didn't see anyone, so I made it to the end of the street, at which point I began to double back. I briefly stopped and spoke with some civilians in the area, just saying, hey, if you see anyone, call the police department, let us know. And as I traveled back eastbound on Elizabeth Street in the 500 block, I observed the three officers from those aforementioned police departments detaining one subject at gunpoint in the front lawn of 553 Elizabeth Street.
You had indicated there were people out and about, civilians?
Yes, there was some people out on their porches or patios. I had my lights going on my squad, so that drew attention for people to kind of look out and call out to me as I was making a Y-turn.
Do you know about what time of day this was?
Not off the top of my head, it was dark out though.
Okay. As in relation to when the incident at the parade occurred to when you're arriving on Elizabeth Street, can you give us a rough time frame?
Meeting.
Overruled. You may answer.
45 minutes an hour at the max.
Okay. So when you were up on 553 Elizabeth Street, tell me what you saw.
So as I was coming back eastbound, I could see the lights from the other officers illuminating a subject on the ground. I immediately pulled up, parked my squad, got out and began running to where the officers were. And as I came up to where they were in the front lawn area between the residents and the sidewalk, they were in the midst of handcuffing and detaining a subject on the ground.
The subject that was being handcuffed and detained on the ground, do you see that person in the courtroom here today?
I do, yes.
Are you able to identify him?
Yes.
Would you like him to remove his mask in order to do so, sir?
Please.
Okay.
Mr. Brooks, if you would please. Thank you.
So the subject I saw was Darrell Brooks seated at the defendant's table wearing a dark-colored suit with a gray shirt.
Now, you said he was already on the ground in the process of being handcuffed, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you see any officer slam Mr. Brooks to the ground?
No.
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled.
No.
Did you see any use of force directed towards Mr. Brooks by any police officer on the scene at that time?
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled.
No.
Did you approach Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Did you speak to him?
Yes.
What did you say?
I asked him to identify himself. At that time, he said Brooks. I again asked him to identify himself. He identified himself as Darrell Brooks.
That's the name he gave you, identifying himself.
Yes.
Objection. That's not what it says in the video.
Overruled.
Yes.
All right. Did that name have any significance when you heard it, sir?
Yes.
Why?
I knew prior to responding to that location that Officer Moss, who had initially located the car, had made a cursory check of the vehicle. During that time, he found documentation belonging to a Darrell Brooks.
Okay. At some point, do you recall getting Mr. Brooks up off the ground?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes.
Tell us what you remember at that point.
Darrell Brooks was picked up off the ground or assisted off the ground. He was then escorted to the front of my marked squad where I searched him.
At this point, are you probably the only officer from the City of Waukesha Police Department on the scene?
Objection. Speculative.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, I was the only officer from the City of Waukesha at that time.
And the other officers were providing mutual aid to the City of Waukesha Police Department?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
Yes.
Being the squad from the City of Waukesha and the parade occurring in Waukesha, did you take custody of Mr. Brooks?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Yes.
Prior to placing him in your squad, was Mr. Brooks searched?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes.
Tell us what you remember about that, sir.
So I searched Mr. Brooks, during which time I found some cards in his right pocket that had his name on it, as well as a black Ford key.
When you say some cards, what can you describe those further, please?
Debit or credit cards.
All right, I'm going to show for you an item that's been marked as Exhibit 176. It's been previously admitted. I'd ask that it be displayed for the jury again, Your Honor.
Permission granted.
Objection.
You see the photograph on the monitor in front of you, sir?
Yes.
Do you see yourself in that photograph?
Yes.
Where are you?
I am the officer with his back to the camera with police written across a fluorescent yellow and orange vest.
Do you recall what you were doing at this point in time?
At that point, it looks like I'm buckling Darrell Brooks into the back of my squad, or
right.
placing him into the back of my squad.
And you see a set of hands on the right side of the photograph, sir?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled.
Yes.
You see the objects that are being held in those hands, sir?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled.
Yes.
Is that consistent with what you just testified as to the items you removed from Darrell Brooks before placing him in your squad?
Objection.
Overruled.
Consent to being called that name and it's
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Yes.
It's a little blurry, but can you circle for us the key that you indicated you found?
With my finger, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And because it's a little hard to see, can you describe that key as you recall?
As I recall, the key was a single key. I don't recall there being any keychain to it. It was a fob type that had some buttons and it had a Ford emblem on it that indicated that it was a Ford key.
Okay. What did you do with these items after you, well, strike that. Should ask a better question. Did you eventually get these items back from the officer who was holding them?
Yes.
And what did you do with them?
I took custody of them until they were ultimately turned over to Detectives Stern and Detectives Carpenter.
All right. Do you remember Mr. Brooks asking you why he had been detained?
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled.
Yes.
New answer, sir.
Yes.
Do you remember specifically what he said?
I recall that he had questioned why the police were handcuffing him or why the police were detaining him.
Did you reply?
Yes.
What did you tell him?
I told him that he was being detained as he matched a description of a subject involved in a crash in the downtown area.
Did you say anything about the parade?
No.
Okay. Thank you, officer. I don't have any other questions for you.
Any cross?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Do you recall speaking with Officer Moss that evening?
Not distinctly. There might have been some radio traffic between me and him at one point.
So it'd be fair to say that radio traffic, you guys spoke?
I can't tell you if I had direct contact with him or if I just recall him airing particular pieces of information.
Do you recall any particular bit of information that was aired by Officer Moss?
You're going to have to be more specific.
Do you recall Officer Moss airing that he had spoken with a potential eyewitness who indicated that they had observed numerous suspects run from the vehicle?
Objection, hearsay.
Grounds?
Overruled. The witness may answer.
I recall Officer Moss airing that to the officers responding in general that there may have been more than one suspect that had ran from the vehicle.
And do you recall if that aired information? Wait a second, back that up. You just stated that there may have been any reason why the air information said it had been, that he had spoken to a potential eyewitness?
Objection, hearsay and
Grounds.
False or speculation as to the words of another person.
Grounds.
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
Do you recall any air information of descriptions?
Yes.
Do you recall what they were?
objection, hearsay.
Grounds.
You're asking him the description of the suspect leaving the vehicle?
Get what he heard aired.
Overruled. You may answer.
I recall there being a description of either a light-skinned black male or possible Hispanic male wearing a white shirt, as well as the potential of a white male with curly brown hair.
Do you recall what you did after hearing that air information?
Yes.
What did you do?
I responded to Officer Moss's general location, at which point he requested that a perimeter be set up. So I responded further south to set up a perimeter to attempts to keep those people within the confines of that perimeter.
Do you recall what general area that was?
You're going to have to be more descriptive to what general area are we talking about here?
The area where Officer Moss was.
Officer Moss was at 338 Maple.
Is that the area that you responded to?
Generally, yes.
What do you mean by generally?
I was driving to the residence when he asked that a perimeter be set up.
And do you recall where you set that perimeter up?
Yes.
And where was that?
It was loosely around that residence as well as to the south and to the west.
What streets were to the south and to the west?
Numerous streets.
Well, I'm referring strictly to your perimeter that you set. Do you recall which street you set your perimeter?
I want to say that I was probably the southernmost squad at that time, and I was at Southwest and Wood.
I'm sorry, what was the second street?
Wood?
Thank you.
While setting up your perimeter, did you receive any more information about the suspects who fled from the vehicle?
It was all kind of at the same time.
Do you recall being advised that the male black had possibly fled southbound and that the male white may have fled in a westbound direction?
Your Honor, I object. Move to strike. He's providing statements and facts that are not in evidence. They're based on hearsay.
The
Sustained.
question was, did he recall being advised that? That was the question. Does he recall being advised?
Still hearsay. Sustained.
So who were you advised by?
Officer Moss.
And do you recall what you were advised?
Objection. Hearsay.
Sustained. Next question.
Grounds for sustain, Your Honor?
Next question, please. Hearsay.
What's that hearsay? And how did you end up being dispatched to the 500 block of Elizabeth Street?
I heard another officer error that they were listening to Waukesha County Communications indicating that there was a person going door to door in the 500 block of Elizabeth Street.
I'm sorry, you said you stated you heard that?
Yes.
Would that be like hearsay?
Only if it's being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. If it's just explain what he did next, then no.
That was the same question I asked before, Your Honor. And upon arriving at Elizabeth Street, you stated that there was already a suspect being detained at the moment that you arrived?
No.
So what did you observe when you got to the 500 block of Elizabeth Street?
I already explained that upon getting there, I traveled westbound on Elizabeth Street till it ended, at which point I turned around and came back. So when I initially got there, I didn't see anything.
Did you observe someone being detained at gunpoint?
Not upon initially getting there, no.
Not initially. Did at any time you observe someone being detained at gunpoint?
Yes, I already said that.
Do you recall what they had on?
Yes.
You state for the record and for the jury what they had on?
They had red t-shirts and blue jeans.
Blue jeans. Were they jogging pants or blue jeans?
Appeared to be blue jeans.
And do you recall why the suspect So it'd be fair to say at the time of your report, you were confident that it was more than one person in the vehicle?
No.
So why did you write the report in that fashion?
I was confident that you were involved with that vehicle and with the crash in the downtown area.
So would it be fair to say that you could have written your report in that fashion instead of the fashion that you wrote it?
Objection, argumentative.
Grounds.
Sustained. As to the form of the question.
Any reason why you would refer to a passenger?
Yes. Initially, there was reports that multiple people fled from the vehicle, from the area of the vehicle.
And because of those reports is why you wrote your report in that fashion, or in the fashion that you wrote it.
Objection asked and answered, argumentative.
Grounds.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
So when you observed the suspect being detained at Elizabeth Street, at that time, did you know the suspect's name?
No.
And you found a credit or debit card when conducting a search?
Yes.
Do you recall where you found that credit or debit card?
Your right pocket.
In Exhibit 176, where it shows someone holding the credit card, was that you
Was what me?
holding the credit card?
No.
But you are the one that found it.
Yes.
And what else did you find?
A Ford car key, vehicle key.
And where did you find that?
Your right pants pocket.
You play Exhibit 80 for the witness.
Stay able to do that, please? The entire
Can you-
video or just a part of it?
I'm guessing around the 4-minute and 50 or something, somewhere up in that area.
That's the last 10 seconds, sir. Is that what you want?
Yeah, somewhere up in that area.
Take a look at it. Is that where you want it to start? Or farther back?
A little further back.
Thank you, Ms. Gussie. How about there? 4:36.
A little further back, I'm sorry. Maybe, yeah, wherever it's at right now, 409. Can you play it from there real quick?
You want the sound, I take it?
I don't really think the sound is necessary. More so the visual.
Okay. It's playing from 4:15.
Do you remember this video?
No, I didn't, that's not my body cam video.
Pause. Go back like 2 seconds.
Thank you once again for doing that.
Is that this touchscreen, right? Is this right here the credit debit cards that you found?
I can't tell what that is.
Can you clear that?
Madam Clerk, please and thank you.
Thank you. Can you go back maybe 2 more seconds? I think it's a clearer shot.
For the record, Your Honor, it's not that easy to just jump back 2 seconds. I mean, if he has a specific time, we can jump to a time.
How would I know if I've only seen the video once? Like, why is it that big of a deal? Can you play from right there? Right there.
4:35, Your Honor.
4:35.
Now it's on 4:37. We started
Can you pause it at 4:35?
Right, it was started and then you said pause, and obviously it takes time to do that, so. And the record should reflect that Mr. Brooks has drawn a circle around something on the still image. Go ahead, ask your question.
The record should reflect consent to that name.
Ask your question, sir.
Around the 4:35 mark, you can see whoever this is holding the credit card, debit card. Is that you?
Objection, that assumes the fact not in evidence, Your Honor.
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
Can you clear that?
Madam Clerk, please, thank you.
You said that you found a key. Where's the footage of you finding the key?
I don't have a body cam, so there's not going to be video of my body cam.
So if you were wearing your body cam, it would have depicted what you found during your search.
No, the city of Waukesha did not have body cams during this incident.
So it'd be fair to say there is no footage of you finding a key. Grounds.
It's argumentative, and he's already said he was not wearing a body camera.
Actually,
He can't know possibly, it's speculation, he can't know possibly.
Actually, he said the city of Waukesha didn't have body cams. He didn't say.
Right, it's sustained, it assumes facts not in evidence and calls for speculation on the part of this witness, and there's also lack of foundation as to this witness.
The foundation is this mysterious key he said he found.
The jury will disregard that statement made by Mr. Brooks. It's not his time to testify. You will have an opportunity to do that later if you choose.
I don't consent to being called that name for the record.
Madam Clerk, you can take that off.
At any time that evening, were you able to detain any other suspects?
No.
After the suspect was detained, do you recall how long you stayed at the scene?
Which particular part of the scene?
Where you had detained the suspect?
At 553 Elizabeth Street?
Correct.
Off my best estimate, I was probably there for about 25 minutes.
And what did you do in those 25 minutes?
During those 25 minutes was time detaining you, as well as briefly speaking with the homeowner, and ultimately turning you back over to detectives.
And what did you do from there?
From there, I went back into a perimeter position.
Would that be referring to the perimeter that you mentioned that you had set
Yes,
around the area of where Officer Moss was located?
yes.
And how long did you stay at that perimeter?
I'm not 100% positive. Extended period of time.
Do you recall why you were dispatched back to that perimeter?
At that time, there was a possibility that there may be another party involved. So as the investigation was still ongoing and they're attempting to determine if there was another party involved, the perimeter was maintained so that no one could squeeze out through that perimeter and flee.
And do you recall there being ring footage of the residents of 553 Elizabeth Street?
Yes.
Did you view those? Did you view the ring footage that evening?
No.
Did you view the ring footage at all?
Yes.
Are you aware of what happened to the ring footage?
A copy of the ring footage was emailed to me by the homeowner, and it was ultimately placed on property inventory at the Waukesha Police Department.
Do you recall if it was multiple videos?
It was, yes.
Do you recall at about 16:40 hours, I don't know, would that be 4:40?
Yes, that's 440.
Do you recall directing traffic at the intersection of Barstow Street and Carina?
Yes.
And do you recall an officer airing anything over the radio at that time?
Yes, I do.
Do you recall what that was?
An officer had aired that you had driven around his barricade or into the parade route.
You. Who you refer to as you?
You, Darrell Brooks.
And you knew that at that time?
Not at that time, no.
So how would you say you?
Throughout the investigation, it was determined to be you.
Do you recall it being any other air information at that time?
Yes.
Do you recall what that was?
Objection, calls for hearsay.
Grounds.
Are you offering it for the truth of the matter asserted or for some other reason? Otherwise, it's hearsay.
For the truth of the matter, I'm asking him, does he recall what was aired on his radio?
Well, then you're asking him to testify to hearsay, so it's sustained.
Do you recall an officer indicating that the vehicle was continuing westbound and possibly blaring its horn?
Objection.
Grounds.
Same objection, Your Honor. He's attempting to testify and offering hearsay statements into the record.
I'm not attempting to testify.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain?
For the reasons the state indicated.
Do you recall?
You can ask the witness if he heard any horns at that time. That would be different. But what someone else may have reported would be hearsay, if it's offered for the truth of the matter asserted.
Well, I'm reading from the report that he wrote.
That doesn't take away that it's hearsay. If it's in the report and someone else said it, it's actually double hearsay.
Do you recall hearing about a vehicle blowing its horn?
Objection.
Grounds.
Same objection, Your Honor.
Overruled, he asked if this witness heard. That's how I heard the question. I think that's what you were asking. You mean at the...
Did you hear about a horn?
What did you hear, Your Honor?
If the question was, did this witness hear a horn, then the witness may answer the question. Did he hear about a horn that's different, that would be hearsay. So why don't you rephrase your question, sir?
Did you hear a horn?
No.
And just so we're clear, I assume that your question meant when he was at Barstow and Carino, because that's where he was positioned.
Correct.
Right? That's what you meant?
Yeah.
Was that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay, very well, next question. Do you have any other questions for this witness?
Yeah. Any reason why it would be in your report that a vehicle was blowing its horn?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Grounds.
Assumes facts not in evidence. Calls for hearsay. Sustained.
Have you read the complaint in this matter?
No.
Have you seen the complaint in this matter?
No.
You yourself filed a claim in this matter?
No.
You know of anyone who filed a claim in this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Relevance.
Overruled. He may answer if he knows.
No.
Do you recall whom subpoenaed you to testify here today?
The state of Wisconsin via the Waukesha County District Attorney's Office.
You said state of Wisconsin. Who would you be referring to when you say state of Wisconsin?
The entity that is the state of Wisconsin judicial system.
So the state of Wisconsin is an entity to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Is an entity a living, breathing human?
Objection. Irrelevant, argumentative.
Sustained. Next question.
Do you know if the state of Wisconsin is the plaintiff in this matter?
Yes.
An entity is the plaintiff?
Objection. Argumentative.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Have you ever had any interaction with the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Irrelevant.
Grounds.
Sustained. It's also overly broad.
You ever had a phone conversation
Objection. Irrelevant.
with the plaintiff?
About this case?
About this case?
Overruled. You may answer.
No.
Have you ever seen the plaintiff in this case?
Objection, Your Honor. This entire line of questioning is completely irrelevant.
Grounds.
Sustained on relevance grounds. Next question, please.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
No, nothing Nothing else, thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. This will be a good opportunity to take a mid-afternoon break as well. All rise for the jury, please. You can step off. Thank you. We'll be in recess for 15 minutes. Thank you, everyone.